Hey there, guys. Today we're doing a deck tech with a background. Today's deck is Guttrue Zealot and Inspiring Leader. But just before we get into the video for today, if you are enjoying the content that I'm putting out there, please do consider subscribing, turning on that notifications. It really helps us out. But with that being said, let's get right on into the video for today. Alright, so I thought we would have a crack at least at one of these commanders that ask you to maybe have a background. You don't 100% need to, but I think a lot of these commanders that say you can choose a background are a lot better when you do choose a background, especially Guttrue Soul Zealot. And I know pretty much no one probably knows what that does because it's a random common that no one probably knows what it does unless you've really drafted the set and whatnot. But we're going to get into it in just a sec. The real thing that turns this deck on is the enchantment Inspiring Leader, which is a 3-mana enchantment, which also counts as a commander, which is a bit weird, but it isn't actually a creature, so it doesn't really affect very much in our deck. It's just a legendary enchantment that allows us to be in Boros and gives our commander the ability to buff up our token creatures by +2/+2. Now, that's pretty good with our commander's ability, which is Guttrue Soul Zealot, another 3-mana legend here. This is a Goblin Shaman. Whenever we attack with any creature, we can sack one creature or artifact, and if we do, we create a 4/1 skeleton creature token with menace that's tapped and attacking. So this is a pretty interesting commander. So you make these 6/3 menace zombies with this guy when you've got Inspiring Leader out on the battlefield. It's also really good with just any kind of tokens and whatnot that you're starting to spam out there. So you want to spam a whole lot of tokens so that you can, sack those tokens to Guttrue Soul Zealot, and you want to try to copy that ability with Strionic Resonator and things like that. You also want to perhaps make extra tokens with things like Anointed Procession and cards like that, so on and so forth, so that you can get more benefits out of his ability. So this is a deck that I actually decided to build for myself, and I thought it was pretty cool. The way I kind of built it was with a whole lot of cheap, low CMC artifacts, creatures, etc. that just basically cantrip you through your deck. There were a few other cards like Professional Facebreaker and whatnot that I thought that's pretty darn good, that I also added to the list. I didn't really think Inspiring or Intangible Virtue and some cards like that were quite worth it, nor Doom Travel. The Hermetic Prodigy I thought was well worth it because it allows our commander to trigger an additional time because, hey, it is a shaman as well. So that's pretty useful. And then we just want a whole bunch of things that basically cantrip us through the rest of our deck. Little small things. Most of the things that I'm seeing I'm showing you here on the average list won't be in the deck that I actually have myself, except for like staple cards like Swords and Solemn, I suppose, and Path and things like that. But Ichor Wellspring certainly is. A few other things that are on this average list are. So, yeah, it isn't a bad place to come to have a little bit of a look and see what perhaps you can do with this deck. Though you really have to get into that mindset. I think that this is a very lean deck. It can get into that space where it's like suddenly you want all of the 0-mana things and whatnot to really get this deck humming and flowing and going really quickly, because you could go that direction and whatnot, but of course I didn't go that direction because that's not my style to do, though it is more aggro to the ground as well in that regard with what I did do with it. Circuit Mana, Adeline, and Mirror Retriever were all cards that I did put in. There are some other cards that I just, again, personally don't put into certain decks and don't feel the need for. And certain cards I felt like, oh yes, that is cool in a way, but in another way, what I really need is not this. A lot of the cards that made treasures, I thought, yeah, that's cool, but the thing that I actually have real problems with this deck, that a lot of Boros and red-white decks in general have, is getting that consistent card draw, or any card draw of any kind, just to keep the cards flowing, because the problem is that you hit too much mana because you've got so many little cantrip sort of things that just sort of hurtle you through your deck. Filigree, Familiar, Workshop Assistant, Krolch, Fury, Aververns were a couple other cards, because, again, anything that helps us get an extra combat also means that our commander will trigger an additional time, especially if we can get to untap any of our stuff, so we can, get them back in combat again to do more damage and whatnot. He also gets to choose a background, which, that's interesting. Sun Titan. I was thinking Duke Uda might be really good in this deck, though I haven't actually put it in or tested with it yet, because, you can copy something and have Myriad, and if you have those tokens having Myriad, you're attacking each opponent, so that's really useful sometimes. Helps you close out the game. So there's a few other things that are in this list, obviously, as I sort of say, that are in my deck, but not all of these. But I'm going to take you through my deck list, and we're going to have a bit of a look and see what it does. Alright, dudes, here we are on Architect, having a look at the finished list. This is the finished list, I believe, or at least I hope so. I had to double count myself, and I think we were actually one card over a moment ago, though I recounted it, and yeah, I think we made it correctly, at least. I hope we did anyway, but you can see the deck here. Of course, you guys don't have to build it the same way that I did. I just decided to build it this way. The land base I'll just go through pretty quickly, because that's the least exciting part, I suppose, for the most part. I just tossed in all the really good dual lands that I had pretty good access to, and again, it's a fair amount of money to throw at a mana base, especially like Prismatic Vista. I actually don't have a proper Prismatic Vista. I'm proxying some of these cards because, hey, I don't have that, but there you go. Same with Battlefield Forge and a couple other cards, and Rugged Prairie and such, because I just don't have them myself currently. But hey, I don't know whether I'm actually going to get them. This deck is just a deck to play and to have fun with, and again, it's all good and fun, so I don't think that many people will mind too much. But yeah, it's just a pretty basic, fairly decent mana base here. Of course, as I say, you can get a more basic one if you want. Couple of bits of a board wipe removal, as I would suggest for most people, and I do for myself. Both pretty good. Farewell can get rid of a whole lot of different things and can exile it, which can be very useful. Vanquish the Horde just gets rid of all the creatures for 2 mana for the most part, so that's really good. I hate to set myself back, but if I'm going to set myself back, I feel like, well, at least I've done it for only 2 mana. Now I can, use the rest of my mana maybe to do something else. I was thinking about putting some of the artifact lands in here, but I haven't done it. But maybe I will do that in a future deck upgrade for myself. But if you guys want to do it, I would suggest maybe doing it as well. Otherwise, we'll go through enchantments, because that's the smallest pile besides instant sorceries. So we've got a few enchantments that make tokens like a Retreat to Emeria. Thorough Investigation can make us clues, so we can draw cards. We also venture into the dungeon, which is alright. Rabble Rousing can get us a hideaway card, and whenever we get to 10 creatures on our battlefield, we can play that card for free. So that's pretty good. That happens pretty quick when you are making all these 1/1s, and those 1/1s can block for us, but they can't attack, which is okay, but again, it's there, also Paladin class sort of gives all of our stuff Ward 1 to a degree, or at least during our turn.
spells our opponent's cast cost 1/1 to cast. Then we can buff up our creatures by +1/+1. Nice little anthem's alright. And whenever we attack, one of our creatures can get +1/+1 for each other attacking creature, and it also goes double strike. So, it does a whole lot of little things. So it's pretty versatile, pretty useful. Legion Loyalty, mass myriad to everything. When we're making a whole lot of tokens and that sort of thing, and we want to try to end the game and kill off all our opponents sort of all at once, this is sort of our Craterhoof Behemoth style card for this deck. It just allows us to go way over the top. Felidar Retreat, cats or counters, both are good. The counters buff up our stuff permanently, give them vigilance, which can be somewhat useful sometimes. But it is more useful often to get the cats, but both modes can be useful at certain points in the game. Blessed Sanctuary, just making more tokens, also prevents non-combat damage that would be dealt to our creatures, so, any Blasphemous Acts won't kill our creatures, so it's kind of useful. Anointed Procession, as sort of said, to increase more token production. Go through the instant sorceries really quickly because there's not very much of note there, so we can go through that pretty darn easily if we can ever scroll down, apparently. But yeah, what's going on here? There we go, finally. Contraband Livestock, the new exiling spell from the new set. Pretty darn good. Just generic other stuff, Swords of Plowshares, Path to Exile, Generous Gift. All really good. So let's go through the artifacts quickly, sort of thing. Everything here that's not a mana rock is just, cantrip style cards that basically, help us out. That and Sword of the Animus, though I count that as ramp, and Swiftfoot Boots. That helps us protect our commander, and Stronach Resonator that helps us double up our commander's abilities, things like that. And Aketra's Monument, just more token generation, Lithoform Engine to copy our commander. Besides that, everything else is just all these little cantrip style things. And even like Blade of Selves again, I did decide to put it here on this list, though. That's probably what actually knocked us out of, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, of having exactly 100 cards. But hey, there you go. I still think it's really good. So yeah, I decided to put it in. Adeline for tokens that we can sack. AO, he is actually something we will sack pretty easily for the most part, because we get the top 7 cards, we get mana value 4 or less from among them onto our battlefield, or we get 2+1/+1 counters, and each permanent we control, each creature we control, essentially, anyway. So that's really good. Aurelia, extra combats, Battle Angels, it does a whole lot of different little things, making us treasures, drawing us cards, getting us life, and it also makes token copies of itself, and just 4/4 flyers are pretty darn good. And if we can copy it with something or copy one of the tokens populate, we can pretty good there. Cemetery Protector. The exile on this is okay. If we can exile a creature, that's the best target. It doesn't come up a whole lot, but sometimes it does come up, and that can be very useful. But we just want it for whenever we play a land or whenever we play a creature, we get a 1/1 human token. Circumender, just more cantrip stuff. Dragon Rage to scry. It also becomes a bit of a big beater later. Also included a Duke, because why not? Might as well. Emeria Angel, more tokens. Familiar to, draw cards, more cantrips. Gisela to increase all of our damage, or double all of our damage, half our opponent's damage. Oketra, more tokens. That's our commander. We went through what Harmonic Prodigy does. Overseer, just cantrip. Junk Diver to essentially get back stuff we've already lost. We went through Koth. Loxodon Gatekeeper. Underrated card, I think, a little bit sometimes, though it is 4 mana to a degree. So it's not that amazing because most of our deck is 1 to 2 mana or whatever it is. I think for the most part, I'll show you guys in just a sec. But it slows down our opponents a little bit sometimes. Morag for extra combats. Mirror Retriever to get back things. I was scared to get back artifacts because most of the stuff we have is artifacts. Priest of Ancient Law, more cantrips. Facebreaker, we went through that. Scourge of Throne is just extra combat. Solemn's just really good. Spirited Companion, cantrip. Sun Titan, pretty good. And Workshop Assistant, just more cantrips, as I sort of say. So, yeah, I'll go ahead and show you where the curve is at down here. So, yeah, like, we're massive at 2. We've got a few 1-drops, a couple 3-drops, and then we sort of peter out after that. So we're massive, massive, massive on 2. And most of our deck is white, so that sort of is, saying why we've got so many plains versus so many mountains, because we only have a few cards that are red versus a whole lot of cards that are actually white. Though most of our deck is also colorless as well, so that really does help as well. But most of our spells are white with us splashing into red. And I might as well show you this as well, because these are cool features that you can see here on Architect. What type of creatures we've got. We've mostly got creatures, artifact creatures here. We've got a couple of enchantments as well. So artifacts and creatures are at the top. Card types and all that. And then you get your subtypes and all that. So, and then it even shows you what tokens you need and things like that. So that's also pretty useful. I'm not going to go through all of that, but you guys can now see what this deck is all about. Yeah, this is a deck I'm still testing and still tinkering. And as I said, I haven't actually added Duke to this deck or Blade of Selves to this deck yet. But that's probably where I'm going with it next. Just potentially, at least so far. But as I say, you guys can let me know what you think of this deck. Do you want to see me do more background commanders? I might do one more because there's one more that I'm kind of interested in at least tinkering with building. So yeah, but let me know if you guys want to see more of these sorts of decks and whatnot. I'll certainly bring them out to you. Let me know what your favorite deck or favorite commander from the set is. Are you hyped for Double Masters, or are you not hyped for Double Masters? Whatever you want to say down there in those comments, just keep it civil, because YouTube will delete uncivil comments. But anyway, if I don't see you guys down there in the comments, I'll see you in the next one.